welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4.
Just under half a kilometre under the wheels, and there's this steep little kicker, and you can see it's already doing some damage to the pack, and that's because Ella Vink knows it's coming.
The difference between these two groups still at about 2.5 kilometres between them, and Category 4 at the moment leading the race. They've got the most distance under the wheels at just over 10k.
Valdo here utilising this flatter section of the early part of the run into the climb to start to push this group and push this group with intention. Category 4, we've got 4 riders in the leading group. Category 3, we've got 6 riders in the leading group. Category 2, 7 riders in the leading group. Now all 3 of those race categories on the descent. The leaders in the Category 3 race, and they are about to sweep her up now. Vink indeed putting a bit of a kick in here to maintain a position.
She is going to wind it round this corner, and she's going to see the banner. It's virtually invisible to you. You've done the turn and it is right on top of you. Diane Grace Burnett, your winner. Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's Qualifier Race number 2. It's the 11th of June and we are in the Northern Hemisphere heading into the middle of our summer, which means that we are a little bit warmer than it has been before, which is great because it means we've been out in the sunshine. My name's Matt Payne. I am here in the studio with the one and only Emma Martin. Emma, great to have you with us. We saw an absolute great way to kick off number 1 with the qualifier race number 1 last week.
Yeah, we did indeed. And last week was a great race. This week we're looking forward to a phenomenal qualifier race number 2. And we should be, because we are in Colombia today for the women's race. So the women today in Colombia, 35 kilometres of racing, 537 metres of elevation. And that comes, as you can see, at 21.9 kilometres into this race. The Category 2 climb, it's 5.5 kilometres long, an average gradient of 6%, and there are some steep sections in that. We then transition to our final climb of the day. That's a 4 kilometre Category 4 climb with the checkered flag at the top. Along the way, we have 7 segments, individual time segments, to allow us to see some of the racing.
Well, they will indeed give us a snapshot. Those segments are discrete segments, so they're timed from the start to the end of the segment. It will give us an idea who's going quick, who's going slow in that segment. It doesn't, of course, reflect the overall because it is timed individually. Now, key parts on this course to look out for, as you can see, running in towards the first of those green riders. There's a little bumps on the way in, and those are our bridges. Are really, really key to this in the early stages, but all 4 categories travelling the same route. So Category 1 in yellow, 2 in green, 3 in blue, but it's Category 4 in red, who will be our first starters here today. And it's a very big race field here today. Our Category 4, Category 3 and Category 2, always competitive, and Category 4, some real big names in here. So who's who, really, Category 4 racing, with a few people sort of moving up and down as well, Emma.
Well, yes, indeed. And we do have some movement across the fields today with people progressing. But you're right, Matt. Category 4, when we first split 4 categories, 7, 8, 9 riders. Today, 22 Category 4 riders taking to the start sheets. Giraldo is here, Lytton, Dalasay, Sarasuk, Vink is here, Ospina, Almansori. And we're also seeing the likes of Galeggio and Salazar moving up to Category 3. So it's lovely to see our Category 4 riders progressing.
It is indeed. And I think it's really reflective on the volume of riders coming in and joining us on MyWhoosh. It's great to get out there. And the competition, of course, is becoming stronger due to having more riders closer together. So our riders all heading out on the same 35-kilometre route. Everybody covering the same amount of height gain, 537 metres, as Emma said. So let's take a look at the first of our categories going to set off. It is our category 4. They are in red, and this category is the entry-level category for riders generally. So once you've got allocated, if you're in category 4, away you go. It's time to hit the roads for qualifier race number 2. So our riders away, heading out from the start line. We now have competition in progress, and the riders here in Colombia, an amazing world to jump in and ride or race on. And as you can see, this group are just finding its feet, just getting a little stretched out as people react to the trigger being pulled and everybody being set off. And the start here, very flat, basically. You've got a very flat running. We make our way out and round. We go over the same bridges 3 times. Then we've got another of a slightly bigger bridge a little bit later on. We go through the mangroves. We go through the groves. You can see in the background at the side here some great cliffs at the side. Lots of amazing scenery. It feels very open, but then we hit the climbs and it comes much closer together.
Yeah, it does indeed. And those little bridges, Matt, that are on this flat opening section, real little areas to kick. And we've seen historically when riding in Colombia and racing in Colombia that some of our riders do take those moments to attack.
They are. This is where I would personally be looking to put something in here, because the profile of this course, with that big climb coming in at 22 kilometers for me, it's quite long. It's 5.5k for that first kicker, the category 2, and it's all part of the same mountain. This is a big thing. It is basically one big mountain, and it's just how far up it we're going to go today. And for me, this first kicker into it is key if you are looking at the overall. But if you are wanting to shake things up before you get there, then those bridges can put a lot of pressure on the riders. Everybody knows that they get a point where you can attack, where you can pressurize the rest of the riders, and of course distance somebody, and that's when then everybody has to work harder.
Yeah, and normally one of the things that we do see is not necessarily riders going off the front, but definitely at those moments and those kickers for those bridges, riders going off the back of the group, and that's where we see the groups get smaller.
Indeed, and that's where we can start to lose riders. You can just see the little, it's almost like a heart rate tracer coming across the screen on the top right hand side of the screen. You can just see there is a green arrow pointing upwards. That's the position of our riders. To the right of it, you can see a little bump. It's a little blip. It's like somebody's just woken up, crawled out of bed and just gone, oh, hello, there's the world out there. Well, that little bridge is the first of the bridges, and you'll see they're coming in a fairly quick succession. So our riders are able to judge how far away they are, although they don't have radar around the corner. The wonders of the sat-nav means that we can see what's coming in terms of turns up at the top and what's coming in terms of profile. That yellow bar already starting to tick its way across. 1.6k covered of the 35-kilometer course. And remember, our segments kicking in will give us a good indication of who's pushing on, who's not, who's putting in fast times, which of our groups are riding fast, whether it's category 4, 3, 2, or 1. So category 4 underway, 1.75k into the course. The first of those little bridges coming through. They look innocuous, but remember, our riders will feel them under the wheels. Their turbo, their smart bike will be clamping down. It will be increasing the pressure on those pedals needed to get over the top of that with the group. And of course, the group are likely to react to the terrain as it comes at them as well. And that's going to change how the riders can ride. Top left-hand side of your screen, we've got our rider data. At the bottom of the screen, you can see all the social media tags. Please do get in touch. We love to see the pictures. We've been glued to social media all week in between watching lots of the race action. It's been coming from various corners of the globe over the course of the last week. Lots of riders in action, and we've got lots of action for you here today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So category 4 just covering just over 2k. Category 3 lined up on that start line. They are all ready to go. Just under 1 minute to start time. Category 3, another strong category here. Who stands out for you? Any particular individuals here that you've got your eye on today, Emma?
Well, category 3 today, 17 riders on the start sheets. Well, Pelagio is here, Agudelo, Jose Zabala, Hadlock is here, Gallego. Indeed, Maria Jose Gallego coming up from Category 4, Wendy Salazar coming up from Category 4, Bernard coming up from Category 4. So really looking forward to seeing what those leading riders in the Category 4 race can do in this Category 3 field, because we've also got progression from last week's Category 3 field into Category 2. So all moving today.
So let's see who's going to take this out. Our Category 3 riders. The second of our Category race starts, and it is go time. It's time for our riders to put the pedal to the metal to find out whether they've got what it takes to take away those prizes for top 5 riders in each of our categories. And those prizes only increase as we move from 4 to 3 to 2 to Category 1.
So in with Jose Zabala and Salazar in that pack as that pack roll out. They have indeed rolled out all as one large group.
It is one block of riders, and it's about staying in the draft here. So we've talked quite a lot at length about draft, but if you missed any of this, then tune in. If you haven't, maybe now's the time to go turn the sound off for 2 minutes, because he's probably going to tell you something you already know, but you never know. We might give you some new data. So draft is what happens when you ride behind something else. Key illustration, most people have sat in the car with the window wound down and put the hand out the window and felt the draft. And then they've hidden it behind the wing mirror. And when you hide it behind the mirror, guess what? All of a sudden, your hand doesn't go backwards. It pushes forwards almost automatically. That is draft. That's it in a nutshell. It's the same when you're riding your bike. If you ride a bike and you hide behind something, whether that's another rider or it's a truck or a bus or a lorry, or whether it's a bunch of riders, anything. If you hide behind it and it's moving at speed, it's pushing through the air. And that's why it's key. You can see our riders in Category 4 approaching segment number 1. As they go underneath that arch, the riders on the front of this group are working harder. The riders at the back, less so.
Well, and it also depends on where you are in the bunch as well. If you are out towards the side of the bunch, there is less draft than if you are sat in the middle. So there's some real technique on MyWhoosh about positioning in the bunch to enable as much draft as possible. Now, for our viewers, the key thing to look at is at the top left-hand corner of your screen. So we're in with Tanglin at the moment. Currently 120 watts. Now that number is flicking to 147, 131, and it is in green. It is the color that indicates whether the rider is currently utilizing the draft and has a really strong position in the group. When that number changes to black, which it has just done, perfect timing, the rider no longer has the draft effect.
And the key here is about saving energy. The more energy you burn earlier on, the less you have later. Now, draft is more effective at speed. Faster you go, more draft there is, more aerodynamic drag there is on the bike, on the rider. Therefore, it's more important on the downhills, on the fast sections. When you hit a climb, even if it's a relatively small one, like the bridge that the riders are about to approach, here we start to see gravity taking much more effect. And as we go up in gradient, the more effect gravity has. And that's why the watts per kilogram are really important. But key thing is, watts per kilos are key generally everywhere, not just pure weight.
Now we said someone will push on the bridge, and Ella Vink has done just that. And take a look at the top right-hand corner of your screen, the stretch she has put on that group. They are lined out behind her. So Vink kicking over the first bridge, and you can see on that right-hand graphic at the top the succession of bridges due to come down the road.
And as these bridges come in, you can see that group stretch. The riders behind now having to work to come back up to that group. Use the draft as much as possible. Hide behind the other riders and come back up. But cycling is all about producing power. Power, ultimately, is more important than weight. Because if you are powerful, you can produce power. You can produce those watts. When you are producing those watts efficiently, it's less important how much you weigh. It's much easier to increase watts. It is less easy to decrease weight. Okay, our next category riders are lined up on the start line. Let's run through these, and let's give you some riders in here now. Our category 2 individuals looking really, really good at the field here. I'm particularly liking the fact that we've got Ribaudo up against Camone, up against Anna Embring, Para Cabanatan, Anybody else that catches your eye? Hamassam and Walkenhurst, maybe?
Well, Walkenhurst did take the win last week.
She did indeed. And it's got to be a rider who we always consider in the mix here. We've got Adela Arias in here as well. And I think this is going to be a really interesting race field. So the riders are lined up and ready. Let's watch them away from the start. Category 2. This is number 2 of 4 categories about to hit the start here. So the penultimate category lined up, time to hit the revs, time to wind up that power. Away we go. Our riders head out underneath the MyWhoosh yellow gantry. They come out from the pens and they will take that turn. They're going to turn right here and away from the tunnels and head out into the flatlands. They're going to go do the loops. They'll probably see the category 3 and 4 riders coming back in the opposite direction. So our riders are up and moving. Let's see whether or not they can put the power down. Who's going to take away the power? Who is going to be ready to go? So here we go. Riders up and moving. So here we go. The riders are just setting off out and around that turn. They're going to hit the right-hand bend. You just see the gorge in the cave in the background. We're going to be heading back there shortly. If you've not watched this, it's absolutely amazing in there. Love the graphics in Colombia. And like all of the graphics within MyWhoosh, they're constantly improving, constantly changing and evolving. And that constant change, we're not the same as we were yesterday. We definitely aren't, because we are improving all the time. And the racing is always getting very, very spicy. At the moment, the riders just warming up, stretching those legs out. Some of the riders will have done a really intensive warm-up. Those people who need to be really on the ball, really fired up before they start. Other riders can ride themselves in, and this is a course that lends itself to riding in. Now, Category 2 riders, we're just in with Anna Embring at the moment. Anna just rolling through the front. We are seeing quite a little bit of churn. So this is the phenomenon that is basically when you go onto the front of the group, you are having to use more energy, so you get drifted backwards. Somebody who's been in the draft will slide in round, go onto the front, and that churn, as it's known, will change the amount of effort that riders are putting in. Now, the women in Category 4 are down the road from Category 2. You could just see that little distance, but Category 1 well on the way along the race route at the moment. And so Category 2 well on the race route. And we're just taking a little look in here. Anna Embring at the moment, heart rate 129. Just taking a little look across these categories. Category 3 look to be working pretty hard here. They're traveling at 32 kilometers an hour. They are on the flat, whereas Category 4 already heading up and over one of our bigger bridge sections here. You can see that there is a 6% gradient, and already Tanya Ho-Weiler pushing on. So 4 categories lined up. Category 1 still on that start line. They'll be our last category to go, and they are our race category, who have everybody else in front of them as they make their way out and through the race route. Already our riders covering some of the segments in front of them. Currently the fastest rider in segment number 1, Wendy Salazar, in Category 3, going through in a time of a 1:49. Segment number 2, you can see at the moment only Category 4 have reached that. That is Natalie Becerra. And Becerra just going through in 1:41 in segment number 2. Segment number 3, no riders yet having reached that point, and these segments dotted across the course from start to finish. But at the moment, you can just see Category 3 looking good. Very interesting to see. There's quite a little bit of action moving just a little bit further back. You can see that little bit of a gap opening up between the group and then reforming, coming back together as riders jump into the draft. Pelagio doing plenty of work here. Carolina around the side there. Mary Joyce Coking going up. Callego comes over the top. And that churn, that constant revolving door as riders come in and through. Good to see we've got Emily Mabin in here. Mabin, of course, one of the riders riding very strongly. Good sprinter, good climber. Could be the day for her, because this isn't a pure climbers course by any stretch of the imagination, even though we have a mountaintop finish. So Category 3 well underway, about to hit 5 kilometers covered. Our Category 1 riders down on the start line. Let's take a close look at who is in here. Now, we've got Cornelia Ekstrom in here from Team International, but a huge mix of riders. Morgan Olsen in here. And just to see that we've got people like Larissa van der Velden in. Eleni Cinelli making the move up through. We've got Jarioni in here as well, and Tico. But this is a massive field of riders here today. And it's reached a stage where we have reached the end of one of our full pages of commentary notes, actually fitting them all in. It's a good indicator that we are hitting the big numbers. Let's see who's going to take it out. Will it be one of the many Marins on home turf here in Colombia? It's time to find out. Category number 1, the fastest of our race category, the cream of the crop, are about to hit that start, and away we go. This is about pushing down the power. We're in with Elenia Cinelli. Cinelli, of course, one of our really strong riders with Antico when it comes to those climbs. We've got Fioroni having moved up from Category 2 as well, joining a lot of the riders who have been traditionally in Category 1. Really big race field, and this is where you go when you first come as well. So this is where we test it out. There's no jumping in Category 4 if you're an ex-pro and ripping it all up. Everyone goes into Category 1 until we find what level they're going to be riding at. So moving away from the caves, away from those start pens, and the front of this Group 1 big solid phalanx of riders. Behind you can just see riders in 1s and 2s just being distanced and having to regain the group. And there's always a little bit of a moment when you start, you maybe not got it in quite the right gear. It goes out faster than you thought. It's not always down to something you're doing. It can quite often be that the group goes out quicker or slower than you thought. You have to do a readjust and then a recheck to make sure that you are all okay and that everything is working right and that you've actually got the pace right to match the group. So Category 1 underway, fast approaching, 3/4 of a kilometre covered. They're moving quickly here. We can see it producing plenty of watts, 38-40 kilometres an hour. Meanwhile, Category number 4, the furthest down the road, just approaching 9 kilometres. We're in with Tanya Howeiler as they go through the start of segment number 3. So the furthest riders down the route are the riders on the way through, looking good. So here we go, the Category number 1 riders continuing to push here. Now looking good at the moment, and this group nicely rolling around. I'm just taking a little bit of a look at the back, 1 or 2 riders. You just see them just drifting back here, and we're just taking a look back. We've got 1s and 2s behind now. Some of the riders will be using this as a way to go and chase, put in a really hard race day. Other riders will be jumping on and making sure they get a qualifying ride in. And the way the process works, we have our qualifiers. They are in the weeks on a Sunday, because it's Sunday Race Club, oddly enough, on the way in towards our final week of the month. Through the qualifiers, there are prizes for the top 5 riders in each of our individual categories, in Category 4, 3, 2, and 1. And increase the prize fund per category increases as we move up to Category 1. When we come to finals at the end of the month, we also have our team competition. Our team competition is going to be one of those competitions that we always love. It's always one of those that we want to see in there, and the teams are where the different dynamic comes from, because the riders have to qualify 3 riders in there at the finish to score points. Now, to reach those finals, they've also got to, of course, make those qualifying rides to get to the final as well, and that is a very tough stuff. Now, other riders won't just be aiming to qualify by getting a verified ride in. Some of them will be looking for the prize money. Angie Parra, the ever-attacking Angie Parra. If we had a combativity award for the season, Angie Parra would be taking it probably hands down. Always aggressive, always on the front, really wants to make people work hard. And one of the phrases in cycling is keeping people honest, making people work hard. Even if she's not going to take the win, she makes sure that they are keeping an eye on what is going on and goes on that long range attack, goes and puts the pressure on nice and early. And as you can see, as we come through this bridge section, this is where things get really tough indeed, because this is where those riders need to make sure that they have the response at time. They've got the kit, they are ready to go. Very interesting though, Category 2, because of this attacking and easing off, are not the fastest riders in the first of our segments. Segment number 1, the fastest riders through there actually are Category 3, followed by Category 2 and 4 together. So our riders up on the bridge in Category 2. Category 1, they are on their way in to the very first of those segments. So let's have a check on them. Okay, our riders in and through the segment. Let's take a look. We're hitting a bit of boardwalk, nice and flat here. And this group's still pretty much together. We've hardly seen anybody out there. All the big names in there. Interestingly, Quevedo, a rider with a big sprint on here. If this is a small group or even a large group coming into the finish, you can never discount Quevedo with that sprint. But last week's sprint finish, Emma, was something else. Let's cast our minds back just a little bit whilst we're just on this flat running at the moment, Category 1 with these riders. Quevedo was my hot pick there, really.
Yeah,
I was going to say, she's a rider who's going to put out, 15 watts per kilo, got this massive sprint finish on her. But because it was a big group coming in there, and they all got their timing pretty much right, it was very hard to call.
Quevedo did not get her timing right because Quevedo went from the front of the pack to the back of the pack in like the last 6 meters. It was like she'd put her attack in she just got her timing wrong. She just kicked too early. She went straight to the front and literally she backed off before the line, and the rest of the pack just snowballed straight straight over her. And she didn't finish in the top 5. I think she was about 10th.
Well, those results, I think, have just been verified. Actually,
they have.
We've been whilst we've been on air or whilst we were in doing the tech checks down here downstairs, because of course all the results go through a process, and that process is checked. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that as we go through the end of segment 1 in a while, because we're just going to take a look, I'm sure, at the results of segment number 1 as they're updated, which is not going to be very long. And of course, all of this, all done by the amazing game MyWhoosh have generated. Here we go, and up to this point, category number 4 were number 3 were the fastest. Then it was categories 2 and 3 together, but they've been eclipsed by category 1. So the results on your screen, and lots of our regular names, 1 or 2 new names in there as well.
Yeah, and it's great to see the new riders coming through. So Vasquez coming through with the fastest time, 1 minute 46 seconds. Quevedo in 2, Agudelo Reyes, Tejeros, Tobon, Castano, Marin, Sanchez, Bardescaya, Barco, Echeverry, and Moreno, all within half a second of each other.
And one of the things looking through the screens is there's a lot of Colombian riders there.
There are indeed, and MyWhoosh very popular in South America. And I just have to take a small moment, because I have just checked the results of last week, and my memory, I am so pleased, is on the ball today, because Quevedo did finish 10th in that sprint last week.
Just gloat in it for a little while.
Well, as we do that, Maria Marin puts a kick in over the bridge, and she's put a small gap in on the group behind. The group now motoring to close it down, but it's one long stretch in the category 1 race at the moment.
And you can see, this is what I absolutely love about the race dynamics. Somebody kicks, it stretches, there's a response, there's a little ball forms at the front. The rest of the riders are maybe a little bit slower to come back, don't want to put as much effort in there, maybe just taking a drink, maybe taking a bottle. Remember, of course, we're going out at different times all around the globe, so some of these riders maybe at the end of the day being a bit fatigued, some of these riders maybe just having crawled out of bed just to jump on the bike. That we are global.
Some of these riders, it is 3 a.m. in the morning, and we do know we have regular racers who set their alarms in the middle of the night and get out of bed, warm up, and race on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. But whatever time it is, wherever in the world you are, we are all on the same platform together and enjoying this racing, because they've just all come back. It's like a huge accordion, isn't it? It stretches out as the note plays and it comes back in.
It does indeed, but again, another stretch here. This time it's going to be Cinelli just on the front. She's not putting in an attack, but you're just seeing a little bit of a response behind. That was a squeeze.
It was, and Cinelli, one of our riders who has come up from category 2, so really nice to see that she's not worried about joining this group.
Indeed, not worried, and able to stretch those. But that is a really important part when you join a new group. So if you are out on the road, for example, if you're riding in the UK, we have this wonderful phenomenon called a chain gang, and this is essentially a group of riders going out trying to smash each other into the ground from start to finish. Think of a race without an end.
But I'm not quite sure that is the technical, description of a chain gang.
That is the reality, and the reality is it's much like the racing, but it's not officially a race. So think a whole load of informal riders jumping and gathering. When you go to a new chain gang, you don't know everybody on there, you don't know people on there. So whereas on the race scene, you see the same riders week in, week out, on a chain gang, because this is a more casual thing, you'll see different riders. And it's the same when you come here. Our riders in category 1, 2, 3, and 4 who've come over, they need to know how this group will ride, how it goes. Does it go flat out on the climbs? Does it ease on the climb? Do you have certain characters who are going to push on at the front but always get caught back? Do you have riders who are going to put in an attack and you can't afford to give them a millimetre? And it takes time to learn that. And moving from category to category, it's a bit like moving from chain gang to chain gang rather than racing. Definitely.
Well, this is one woman who has moved from category to category, from category 4 to category 3. It's Mary Joyce Coking, and she is pushing on the front of this group. Hadlock in 2, Montoya in 3, Zabala is there as well. It's a 2-second gap back to this chasing group. I can see Pablo in there as well, Pelagio, Montoya, Salazar, another one of the riders who has progressed to this category, and Emily Marin as well, or Mabin should I say, is also in here.
Indeed, Mabin, of course, very strong riding from the start of the championships. Big sprinter, big kick, and working well here. Good to see we've got Morgan Olsen in with us as well. Morgan, of course, in category number 1, another rider who's moved up. And they are going through the end of segment number 2. So this will give us a good indication of which of our groups are moving fast. And if we see category 4 up there, we know that the rest of the groups are taking it a little bit easier, because we would expect to see category 1 the fastest, then 2, then 3, then 4. Now, taking a look, Daniela Tobin up here. Tobin right at the top of the standings here. Really good to see that Maple Leaf up at the top. But Chinelli in there, Agadela Castano, Barrio Serna, Tico Fua. One of the things I'm noticing here, Emma, at the top, we've got a lot of riders who are maybe newer to this race category filling the top. And that says to me that they are having to squeeze. They're maybe not conserving their energy quite as efficiently because they're not used to how that ride works. You do see some of our regular names, people like Ursula Bardeskaya, who's back with us, and Catherine Fua.
Yeah, you do indeed, and it is interesting to see as this group continue to roll out, sweeping around this right-hand bend now. They are 12 minutes into this race.
12 minutes in, 7K covered. But of course, this was our last group to start. Category 4, the first of our groups down the road. And of course, they have a head start. They're at 14.8K on the right of our screens, and they're in one of my favorite parts of the world. Absolutely love riding through this. If you have not done this, jump on board, download the app. It's available on iOS, on Windows, it's available on Android. Pop it on your phone, get it onto your laptop, get it onto your PC, put it onto whichever device you want to use, get it up on a big screen, mirror it up, however you get it there, and then jump on. Get that resolution set super high. Super fun through here. Great fun to ride in. Some amazing scenery. And it's one of the things I absolutely love about virtual riding. We kicked off, really, the explosion in riding virtually happened in the biggest explosion happened when we were in the middle of a pandemic, when nobody really went anywhere. And now we've discovered all of these places we can ride, and actually it's quite a lot of people going out and riding them in real life. And I hate that phrase, in real life, because everybody's in real life riding at home, but they are actually going out and riding the actual race venues, or the rise. And that could be the Jebel Hafid, which is massively on my tick list. So I've got my fingers crossed that I can sneak a road bike off somebody next time I go out there. It might be a BMX event, but I'm going to go ride a big climb.
No, you don't want to take a BMX up there. Road bike, definitely. Now, but what also is one of the interesting things, I think, Matt, is that the esports platforms have opened up riding and racing to a different group of people, a group of people who potentially don't have the ability to travel to races, the group of people who don't have the ability to join a team, etc. or indeed people who have switched from one sport to another. And we see riders from all different backgrounds and all different disciplines and all different ages with the ability to ride and race on esports. And I think that is fantastic and great thing for everybody.
It is indeed, and we love doing it. We spend a lot of time researching our riders, our race fields, seeing what you're up to. One of the key tools is social media for us to see what you're up to. So if you're watching this, if you're a rider, if you are a spectator, if you're a team manager, we want to know. So please do get in touch. Please make sure you do a couple of things. One, tag us in. Tag in myself. That's at Matt Fixer-Payne. Even better, give us a follow. You can do the same with Emma. Emma, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Biking Emma.
And make sure you tag in MyWhoosh. It's MyWhoosh on Insta, on Facebook. It's my_whoosh on Twitter. Please, guys, get in there. Give us a friend's message request. DM us. Send us a data. Tell us what you're riding. Put us on Strava. You can find me on Strava. It's great for us to see, and we love doing that research.
If you have taken your turbo trainer and bike on holiday with you because it is your birthday and you have set your turbo trainer up in the most amazing remote location in Ireland, which one of our male riders did last week.
Ross Fawcett?
No.
Was it not?
No.
Who was it?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was Ross Fawcett.
There we go.
I'm glad my memory's working slightly.
I was just, anyway.
Yeah, you were just too blown away looking at the scenery.
I was looking at the scenery. But, if you do take your bike somewhere and set it up on holiday, if you are riding in I was going to say a strange location, but it's not necessarily a strange location, a different location, an unusual location. Take a picture, send it through, tell us about it, and that will be fantastic.
Yeah, this is not extreme.
No, we are not under
not
any circumstances
MyWhooshing.
doing extreme MyWhooshing at all. We do not want to see that.
You might not, I might.
Anyway. No encouraging.
Anyway, should we go back to the racing, because at the moment our Category 1 riders currently reaching 9.59k on the road. But it is a serious point, guys. Please do let us know where you're riding. Let us know what you're doing. Tell us where you come from. What's your background? Are you a biathlete? Could you shoot the wings off a locust at half a mile? Are you the sort of rider who comes from jiu-jitsu and is super aggressive but controlled?
Yeah.
Are you
a world champion ice skater? And what does ice skating bring to cycling? And now, I reckon power.
Do you know what? We have all these people riding here today.
We do.
And that is all part of the mix. And what we absolutely love about being here on MyWhoosh every week, it's myself, Matt Payne, and Emma Martin, with the amazing team back stage and in the engine house. And got to say a big thank you to them. Not only are they bringing us all of the action, but they're generating the race, the graphics, they control the results, they're going to be verifying the ride, they're going to be checking out what the riders are doing. So is Maria Marion, kicking out the watts and the power. She is. Yes, she is. You see it's on the screen, but they're also going to be double checking the data. All of our riders having twin recording. So they record the power on their primary source. That would probably be their turbo trainer, or smart bike. Or is it going to match up with their secondary? That could be a power crank or pedals. How are they recording? What is the data telling us? Is it humanly possible? Have they been affected by something outside? And you do find temperature changes, humidity changes will change how it works. One example we gave somebody fairly recently was that, as you can see on your results, let's use this a great example here. So 3.7 watts per kilo, 187 watts coming out from our rider first in and through the Sagadella Castano. Fastest rider through there. Now that 187 watts is measured by devices that use what's called a strain gauge. If the temperature changes, that will go up or down. And if it does that randomly, you might find a magical increase in your power. I wish, for me.
Calibration is key.
Calibration is indeed key at the temperature you are going to race or ride at, and at the same humidity levels, because it does change how that comes through. So all of this is checked out by the systems. We include the infamous words AI in there, because that does check as well. So we're all going to be checking those performances all the way through. Of those performances on here, what's really telling for me, these riders are riding through pretty steady. Those heart rates are not sky high.
Well, what's really telling for me, Matt, is we've got 29 riders in this leading group in this Category 1 race. So 29 riders in here. That is a big pack. Nearly 20 minutes into this race.
It is, and we are, as Emma's just said, nearly 20 minutes in, and you can see that the riders are at the moment pushing up to 11.5 kilometres covered. Meanwhile, in Category 3, Mary Joyce Cokie, the rider that Emma was talking about earlier, has pushed on. We've now got a gap of 42 seconds back to Angel Ann Hadlock, as well as Christina Pelagio in there. Montoya is in there. It looks like Zabala in that group. Becerra is in as well. This is the group, and they've picked up a number of riders in Category 4 as well.
Yeah, they have indeed. Now, Coking, historically, when she was in Category 4, was absolutely renowned for pushing on hard early, and often got brought back towards the latter stages of the race. It's really interesting to see what she's going to do in this Category 3 race, because she's gone out hard early again. Now, this chase group behind it is a very large chase group of Category 3 riders. It's going to be interesting to see what Coking can do and whether this group will pull her back.
Indeed. Meanwhile, right hand side of your screen, as Category 3 on the left continue to push 16.5 kilometres, 19.15k in and counting. You can see the riders in red. They're your Category 4 riders. This is our leading group of riders. I don't think we've got anybody clear at the front of this. Doesn't look like it. So this group all together, they're pushing on. They are maintaining a good pace here. But they must be aware, I'm sure, that there are riders trying to hold them back. And of course, they're not far off hitting the climb, because the base of the climb comes at 22k. So this is the run-in. Now they're going to turn, and they're going to make the way towards the base of the climb. When they hit the base of the climb, it goes skywards. And at that point, they know that the next, what is essentially 13.1k, are going to be up the side of the mountain. There is a step part way through. It is historically one of our flat, rolling and bumpy FRB sections, of course. This is a very technical term coined by the coach, Professor Martin, across the studio from me, who's just, I think, collapsed in a heap of hysterics, because this was a phrase that came out, and I think it was actually coined on this section, of course. The flat, rolly bumping. Would you like to care to explain that phrase, Emma?
Yeah, I think it was one of those moments when your brain's not very functional.
I was waiting for a really technical explanation.
I don't think there was a technical explanation.
Rolling and bumpy section. It is very...
But it is exactly what it says on the tin. It is flat, it is rolling, and it is bumpy.
And that, of course, is very, very telling when it comes to how our riders perform. And that is what we're looking at it in context for, how our riders deal with that terrain. Now, you can see Category 4 are on the way in. On the top right-hand side of your screen, look at the course profile. You can see it is going to ramp up. This is a key moment. Now, if you are a climber, the key part to make this work is to your advantage. Make it work to your advantage. Key part is coming, and it's on this section. This is the steepest, longest section of climbing. Remember, if you cast your minds back to the course profile, in fact, you never know, we might even be able to see the course profile in a second, if we're really lucky. The course profile, flat, 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 flat. Oh, look at that. I told you the team behind the scenes were amazing. It's almost as if they can hear us. So 22k in on the flat at the bottom, and then we hit the climb. As we go on to the climb, this is the big section. So this is our Category 2 section of a climb. The guys showing us here what is the key part. It is between 22k and the 5.5k finish of that Category 2. Steep, 6% average, much steeper in sections because there are steps in there. Then you have the FRB section, the flat, rolly, bumpy section, between the end of Category 2 and the start of the final climb. But the final climb is not that steep. It has a couple of kickers in there, but if you're a climber, you need to make it count now, because there is the regroup possibility in that middle section. That middle section is long enough to regroup if you've got somebody who's a good rouleur or rolling course rider, rather than somebody who can climb, Emma.
Yeah, it is indeed, but it is also more technical than you think. And, trying to cast my mind back to the flat, rolly, bumpy moment. Yeah, I think that's really what I was trying to indicate. It is not a flat transition where you automatically assume a lone breakaway rider can be brought back in. You can indeed actually continue to gap the group. Now, trying to gap the group here is Maria Marin, but Skya is the one trying to do the chasing. They are up and into the tunnel section on the boardwalk. The gradient now dropping as they hit the flatter sections here. Soon they will hit a downhill. The group is all together now. We did indeed say there were 25 riders in this group. It is a large pack of Category 1 riders. They are all still together at the moment. One rider just slightly distanced off the back there, as we see someone yet again just stretch their legs and push on and trying to keep the pace a little bit higher.
It is, and that constantly jumping through the group, putting the pressure on, then people respond. You can just see a little bit of a stretch out here as people just want to be up there. What people don't want to do, and it's almost as important to be in the mix because you don't want to get left behind as it is to put the attack on. Because if a gap goes and there are a lot more riders in front of the gap than behind, if you are caught behind in a minority group, you are going to find yourself in trouble. You're going to have to work much harder to get back to the bunch at the front.
You're not going to catch a group of 25 riders. If you are one or two, there's no way. The draft effect and the pace that group will be rolling at and the momentum they will have, you will not come back. Now, what is really interesting to see is we've got pack after pack on the road here. So 25 riders leading in this Category 1 race. Take a look at that Category 2 race on the right-hand side of your screen. That is also a large pack of Category 2 riders at the front of the Category 2 race. And you can see the blue jersey in there at the moment. They are starting to sweep up the back of that Category 3 field. That indeed is taking a little look through the screen, just trying to pick out who that may well be. And I'm looking at that thinking that is Bernard.
I think you might be right there. It could well be Bernard, who's about to get caught back here. Diane Grace Bernard, who you saw on your rewind, into Category 3 from Category 4. So currently just rolling in through at the moment in Category 3, and probably just finding out how it is riding in Category 3.
Well, this is a phenomenal tactic from someone who's moved from Category 4 into Category 3 to have a steady start for the first half hour of racing. Wait for the leaders of the Category 2 race field to catch you, and then get a tow to the bottom of the climb.
And that would be my tactic, I have to admit, if I was thinking that, do you know what, I don't want to have to sit in there, I don't want to have too fast start, or if you have a technical issue. So you could do anything from dropping a water bottle at the wrong moment, lose contact with the group rides away as we were just talking about, and then you have to jump back in. It could be something as simple as maybe just unshipping the chain off the bike, as you change gear. Not that you need to do too much gear changing on the way through here. It's as much to deal with the little kicks of the bridges as it is anything else. But as you can see, we have got all of our riders out on course. Category 1 exiting the tunnels. Category 2 well on the way in and through. Category 3 just coming to the end of segment 5 at 20 kilometers into the course, and Category 4 up on to the climb. They're on the base of the climb, they're on the start, and they're on the way up.
Yeah, and take a look at all 4 of those categories on your screen at the moment. 4 large groups at the front of each race. So the head of each race at the moment, one big group. Now we're coming to that 22.5 kilometer mark. It's about to go upwards.
It is indeed now. Let's see who is going to push on at that point in each of our categories. Category 4 on the climb, 3 working through. Remember, we have Mary Joyce coking on the attack with a gap of about 40 seconds, so we'll see whether that continues onwards. Category 2, again, another large group, just like we've seen in Category 3, but in Category 3, obviously chasing. We're going to see who is going to be able to take this out, and will it come down to a sprint, which is possible, and the finish is tricky. We'll go into that a little bit later once we've hit the climb, but the run into the climb here, Emma, it's relatively flat.
It is indeed relatively flat as we take a look at the results of segment number 4. So segment 4, a 1 kilometer Well, actually, no, sorry, it's a 3-kilometre segment, so it is indeed our longest segment up to date. So 13.5 kilometres to 16.5 kilometres, and take a look at that. That is Category 1, and the pack going through less than a second separating our top 12 fastest times. So Castano, Biarhead, Manshandi, Bardaskaya, Barco, Moreno, Agudelo, Maria Marin, Echeverry, and Fua rounding out the top 10. This is a close pack with some great riders in it.
It's going to be a really interesting. Now, one of the things we often say is when you have a course where all of the terrain, the really technical terrain or the difficult terrain is packed into the end of the race route, when it's all packed in and is loaded at the back, then what you tend to find is it's a steadier run through with the odd skirmish. But when you hit the climb, you expect fireworks, you expect it to be lit up, and that's what we're seeing. We've got a lit up screen, and every now and then you'll just see it flicking to red and yellow on the right hand boxes. That is when our riders are digging into that red zone. They are the Category 4 riders at 23.1. The rider who is absolutely motoring across the gap from Category 3 to Category 4, who set off in front, is Mary Joyce Coking. She's on the left of your screen at 22.18. And as Emma says, this is a rider that is known to push on early. Now, will it pay off today? It'd be a nice payday.
Well, it would indeed, but we've seen Coking get caught in the latter stages of the race, particularly, and this is a tactic from Coking, particularly when there is a flat section to start with and a climb at the end of the course. Now, obviously a very strong rider on the flatter, longer sections, and whether that is because her climbing is not as strong as some of the other riders, who knows whether that is her tactic, but it's going to be interesting to see today.
And it could always be, of course, that she's going out, she's deliberately training to do a very fast, flat hour, for example, or 40 minutes. And that is what you want to train. And that is one of the great things, because, of course, lots of people on here, they're not racing for the top 5. They're racing to see where they are against their friends, you know. I jump on now. I've got a great friend called Ian. Ian and I regularly go out, I'd like to say training, but it's riding around, drinking coffee and eating cake mostly. But we do have that battle against each other, and lots of people doing that here. And wherever you are in the world, if Ian was in South America, then, or in Australasia, or in the Gulf State, we could do that, and we could continue that battle. And that's what a lot of this is. And it's also about training. So Ian might be training for the old man sprint, and he will be training these sprints. I might be training to see if I can just survive to the end of an hour's ride, you know, without falling off the bike and stopping for cake.
And that is it, isn't it? Because the absolute joy of the fact that you can ride on the esports platform, you can ride on MyWhoosh with friends and teammates from across the globe. You know, I love the fact that, you know, I can do a team time trial with someone from Leeds up the road here in Yorkshire, but also someone from Norway, someone from America, someone from, you know, absolutely all around the world, all together rolling in a team time trial. Or, as you say, you know, people who are at different stages of their training programs, people who are at different stages of their racing programs, racing week in, week out. You know, you're not on top race form every Sunday for, you know,
52 weeks of the year.
I was going to say 45. Let's assume people do have some Sundays off.
What? I don't understand that concept. No.
But you're not going to be on top form. And we do have riders who ride week in, week out on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's fantastic. We see them progress. We see them come to the fore. We see their form change. And we see them in the top 5. And then we see them having different types of rides as well.
Indeed. And speaking of different types of rides, let's look at different types of riders. Now we get on to the slopes. Category 3, 1:25 was the time gap as we hit the base of the climb to Mary Joyce Coking, who is up on the front, 1:26 at the moment. She's currently at 23k, so she's got about 400 meters on the riders that we see on our screen, and this group is starting to distance riders off the back of the group, top right hand side of your screen. You can just see, shaded out a little bit by the gradient profile, riders being distanced from this group. We're on 5.5% gradient. That's the number in the orange box. That will flick into the red as we go up through the gradients. It will also, in this case, go down into the grey as we go into minus numbers on the flat rolly, bumping section in the middle. Emma going to throw something at me if I mention the flat rolling, bumpy much more, but I'm going to make sure we do plenty of times.
Trademark that.
You should do. Right, on to the bridge. Now, this is a really interesting section because we're coming up to one of the key points. We actually go up over the top of an earlier part of the course, and this is where we go actually over the top of the caves. Caves are actually directly underneath us here. So the riders going up over the top, still continuing to climb, still stretching out. That's category 3. You got Mabin and Hadlock at the moment on the front here, just trying to put a little bit of distance in, just keeping that pace. And it's Angel and Hadlock leading Mabin in the blue jerseys in category 2. Category 2, we're starting to see the push onto the base of the climb. And it looks like Kimberly Miller has got itchy legs here. She really wants to wind this up. Look at the numbers here. She's not taking this easy. They hit the base of the climb. This bunch has gone boom, and all of a sudden it is one long line. Para on the push now. You can see everybody flying into the red zone. They know that you cannot afford to let the gaps go. And Angie Para's time trialing and technical ability to ride solo could pay off here, because this, if she gets this right, is the time to go. Go at the start of the climb. Make the maximum distance on this section of climb. Hold clear of the group as you go over that mid-section, and then take it to the finish. But the response is coming. Lisa Hermansen tucks right in with this group. Very careful riding here. Walkenhurst in here. Kimona in here. Then bring in as well. Rabaudo is in here. Payne as well. These riders are all having to measure their effort. Remember, this is a 35-kilometer race. We are at 22.5 kilometers. Still plenty of distance left. And now you can see Bulgarian moves onto the front. Bulgarian, another of our really strong riders, and a rider who's putting some great performances. Could well be due a win. You never know.
Absolutely, and it could really be anybody here. Melina is in here, Embring, Hermansen, Miller, Walkenhurst. This is a really strong group, you know, Matt, of category 2 riders all at the front of this pack at the moment as they start on this climb. It's going to be interesting to see what tactics these riders do. Riders use, I think is the word I was looking for there. Now, what is also interesting is our category 1 race field now at 21.1 kilometers. They are coming in to the foothills of the category 2 climb. It will not be long until their wheels start going skywards.
Indeed. Remember, segment number 6 is 21 to 22k. This is the run in. Now, really interesting. I was just taking a little bit of a look back whilst I was just watching the moves coming into the climb. Segment number 5 at 19 to 20 kilometers. So this is the run into the climb just a little bit earlier. Mary Joyce Coking has the fastest time, even allowing for category 1 coming through. So in fact, Catherine Marin is the second fastest time in category 1. Mary Joyce Coking really pushing into the base of the climb to try and give herself the maximum lead as she comes onto the climb. And if you know that you could be in danger of getting caught back, then that is the perfect time to push into that climb. Make the time there, because it's a time when traditionally riders will ease back. Riders will ease off, rest a little bit before they hit that climb, just in preparation, just to try and get a little bit more oxygen in, burn a little bit less fuel, make the legs ache a little bit less. It's almost instinctive, but very, very good place if you're solo to attack. Now, segment number 6, this is 21 to 22k, so this is where our category 1 riders are now. This is the run into the climb. Really, really key here as they come through. Watch out for riders starting to push. Expect this group to get blown apart. And as we come in, we hit that segment line, and it is Valdez who's on the attack now. And this is one of our really strong climbers on the move here. 10.8 watts per kilo, 11.3. This is not just rolling through. This isn't a squeeze. This is a full-on attack. What a move. And look at the distance.
Yeah, this is a sprint effort coming out of Jose Valdez to kick away from the group. And what an effort it is, because at the moment, the group behind, they're 8 seconds behind. Quevedo and Biarhead, Echeverry and Marin are coming to the front. But there's no real big push at the moment from the group. In fact, I think the group are going to let the rider go. I think they're they're going to let Jose Valdez go with the view that they will catch her on the climb.
Well, that means they're going to have to set a steady pace. Now, take a look at this. This shows you, remember, they came in together. Valdez absolutely pulled that pin and went for it. And what is really telling, you can't see on your screen here, this shows you our Category 1 riders. Valdez going through with a 150.277. She is just over a second faster than Castano. But look at when we add in the Category 2 riders. Para, Miller in there. And this is our overall riders now. And you can see that change because the group has come through at a similar pace to Category 2. But Valdez is the one who kicked on through there. And it shows you those groups just ease back to a similar pace. Valdez using that to her advantage. Really interesting to see that dropped in secondary.
It is. The Category 1 riders have had a steady run into that climb. You know, they've taken a recovery, they've taken a breath, they've taken a pause, they've let their heart rates drop. You know, Castano's heart rate down to 143. So that's a real drop, a real steady run into the climb to give themselves a breath before we see fireworks.
Well, fireworks we've seen, and this is the rider who lit the fuse. It is Maria Jose Valdez, who currently has 9 seconds on Carvajal, Echeverich, Nelly. We're seeing a big group of chasing riders. That's on the left-hand side of your screen is our leader in Category 1. Right-hand side of your screen, these are the riders in Category 2. They're just hitting segment 7. And this is the start of segment 7. This is at 24k. This runs all the way to 29 kilometers, so a 5-kilometer segment. And in Category 2, Lisa Hermansen tapping out the rhythm on the front there. 65 revs per minute, so not super speedy revs, but clearly pushing on. Meanwhile, this is the response to the attack by Valdez, and look at the move here. They're going to pull her back, and look at the damage that it has done to the group doing that.
Yeah, look at the back, look at the stretch on that group. So the top right-hand graphic at the moment on your screen, viewers, is the one you want to be looking at, because that big group of Category 1 riders is stretched right back down the road, and you can see it from our camera shot just before we've turned. But at the group now, you can see all coming back together again. So that long stretched group now reforming as a bigger group, a tighter group at the front. But indeed, there are gaps all the way back down the road.
It's been stretched so far by the pressure being put on the front. It has stretched thin. It has snapped for some of those riders. It's in danger of snapping for others. And one of the things this group should be doing is exactly what Carvajal is doing now, and reinforcing that. Don't give away those hard-earned gains by letting the riders at the back come back on. Yes, they're going to have done work if they get back on. Yes, they're going to have put in some serious effort. But what they will do is they then can take a bit of a rest because they're back in. They're still getting draft at 27 kilometers an hour. You still get draft advantage by sitting behind other riders. This is where the climbers need to make it count, because you don't want to pull a big group into the finish, because we saw what happened. We got an unpredictable result. And if you are a climber, you pull a sprinter in, that sprinter's going to pull it out at the end.
Well, they are indeed. And that attack there, you can see they're making 2 core groups out of that one large group in Category 1. You know, those riders in Group 2 are still trying to chase hard at the back, and this group at the front here are going to have to watch, because very soon, if they do not go again, they are going to find some of those riders just jumping onto the back there, and the group at the front getting bigger, and the work that they've done not sticking. Now, Catherine Marin is the rider with Karub Quevedo, who is understanding what is going on behind, because Quevedo and Marin, the 2 riders, now pushing on at the front and wanting to keep that pace high. They do not want that second group of riders coming back, because all that hard work is for nothing.
It is indeed, and that's it. It's about keeping the pressure. But if you put a big dig in to get to that place, you might not have anything left. But one rider who we can almost guarantee will put another dig in, Maria Marin, on the attack here. And you'll find us using the various Marins' forenames more frequently maybe than anybody else. It's just to distinguish it. So Catherine Marin and Maria Marin continuing to push in. If you're a UK-based rider, just think it's like Smith, where everybody else's name is Smith or Brown. It's the same. Marin is very common name here, riding on the platform. It's one that we need to distinguish between, so you will find us using that. And you do find that with other riders like Sanchez. We've got Julie Sanchez. We've got Jenny Sanchez.
We've got
both
Erica Sanchez.
And Erica Sanchez. Oh, Jeremy Ryan, speak of the devil, there was just seeing one of our Sanchez, Julie Sanchez, actually digging in there. So good to see Julie back with us again. And one of the ways that, of course, these are riders know where they are is what they look like and what their identification is. You'll see a mix of equipment, of helmets, of gloves, of shoes, of socks. Personalizing your avatar, really important when you've got group racing license. It's very easy when it's just you solo to know which rider you are, but when you're racing, really key to know where you are and who's around you. Now, some riders will stick with the same kit all the time if they've got teammates to make things simple. Other riders will mix it up to make things difficult so that people can't spot them, particularly if they're a rider who is a favorite. So if you imagine any of the big tours, imagine UAE rider Tadej Pogacar, for example. That man has a target on his back wherever he goes. If you're in a yellow jersey, if he's in yellow, he's a target. Everybody knows. So change the kit and mix it up, and that makes it much more difficult.
Well,
now,
not something you can do when you're riding as a team on the road, but here on esports, absolutely. Me, socks.
There you go. So Emma changes socks. Me, I rarely change anything because nobody's ever going to worry about me in a race. Definitely not do enough riding for that. One rider who definitely does do the riding, going over this amazing part of the waterfalls here with the spray coming up over the bridge, is Milena Carvajal. Carvajal with Cavado digging deep to get onto the wheel here behind. You can just see the response is coming. But is it coming quick enough? The group are trying to pull back. And remember, every time this group comes back, it's getting smaller and smaller. At one stage, I think it was 29 riders in this group, Emma. We have come right the way down. And now that's got to be about 15, 20 riders at the most in contention.
Yeah, absolutely. The group keeps getting smaller, and it's getting smaller again because the attacks keep coming on the front and riders just keep dropping off the back.
So category 1 well on the way, 25k covered. We are just in with Dorothy Gonzalez in category 2 on the right hand side of your screen, and you can see category 2 working the way up nicely here. They're just pulling back our category 3 and 4 riders. I think it's going to be Salama Al-Kabi who's going to see them next, and it's taking a look back from Salama Al-Kabi at the moment to Dorothy Gonzalez. They are the riders coming together here, and I think Al-Kabi's going to try and put a little bit of a push on here to try and jump in with them. Very difficult to do when you are on this really steep slope here, but you do get a nice view of the riders coming in and through. And look at this pack sweeping around this hairpin turn. Great graphics. This is where you always find me pushing. I can't help myself because you go around this sweeping turn. I almost leaned the turbo train. I'm going to say I'm guilty of that one.
What, at 9.2% gradient? That was a right kick around that corner.
It was indeed, and it's one of the really key parts for me. You've got this steep little step. You come off the flat and you hit this steep step, and this now is the run to the top of the first of our climbs, the category 2 climb.
Yeah, absolutely. Now these riders continue to push on, and you can see here on the right hand side of your screen, this is our leader on the road at the moment. This is Catania, Fabiana Catania in the category 4 race. The pack are behind. Ospina is there, Alzat is there, Howell, Lytton, Dallasay. This is a good group of riders in this category 2 race, and they have gone up this climb, this category 2 climb, and the pack are still together. So 2, 4, 6, 7 riders in this group. That is a phenomenal effort, I think, for 7 riders in this category 4 race to still be together at the top of this category 2 climb. You can see the flat rolly bumpy bit in front of them. They are just dropping down. They will head up to the flat plateau before they drop down again, and then they've got the final climb of the day in front of them. That is a category 4 climb. It's 4 kilometers long with an average gradient of 3.1% until they see that checkered flag.
And you can see as the riders have come around, they've done that rolling downhill through the bottom. They're now onto this little kicker of a climb. They're going to come sweeping around the right-hand side. It'll kick again, and then it levels for a section. But then you've got this almost ski ramp downhill where you go diving down, and it's a very quick transition from the flat into that downhill steep section, steeper at the top, then leveling out, and it really picks up speed fast. So if you can gap somebody coming into that transition to the downhill, it's a really smart place to do it, because you can open a lot of distance very quickly for very little effort, but you've got to catch them napping. Now, let's drop back with our Category 1 who are on this climb. You can just see this is braking again as we come around this right-hand turn. Maria Marin again on the attack. You can see behind everybody is trying to answer the move. Geraldo Reyes is right in the mix. Cavedo, Echevarri, Cavajal. Looks like we've got all of our key players here. Valdez, who put in that initial attack, coming onto the climb, is in the mix. Morgan Olsen putting in a great ride here. Olsen, who's moved up from Category 2 to Category 1 fairly recently, looking very strong at the moment.
Yeah, really strong riding going on at the moment in that Category 1 leading bunch. I'm looking at the Category 2, but you know, there's not much difference. 500 metres now separating these two categories.
In Category 2, I think I'm going to see Category 1. They are coming at pace, and it is that kicking and attacking and answering. Now, sometimes that will slow everybody down, because basically on the responses, when everybody regroups, there's a pause, and those pauses are long enough to cause a average speed that is slow. Today, that's not really the case. Category 1, despite this slow and then this odd kick and slow, there's enough kicks to keep the pace high and put people under pressure. You can see the colours on there. They're going into the red repeatedly as people put the pressure on, and they're starting to use the draft of riders they're catching. Remember, it's not just your own category you can draft from. You know, it's just because I'm a bike, it doesn't mean I can't draft behind that JCB for 20k just to get my time faster. Been done regularly, don't you worry. It's all about making sure that you use every single possible opportunity. That might be a Category 3, 4, 2 rider. If you're Category 1, you are going to use everything, because you don't get there without being a smart rider. Now, going back to Category 3, in with Angela and Hadlock, we've got Mary Joyce Coking. Now, she started this climb 1 minute 26 in front. She's down to a minute, so she's lost about a third of the time on the first of our climbs. This is the bigger of the climbs, but this is where the advantage will tip in favor of a group if they work together, if they use the draft, and if they push across the FRB section in the middle.
Well, there are 5 riders in this chasing group. Coking is out front. That's 6 riders in total. 6 riders, 5 on the podium. It is going to be an interesting latter part of this race today. So this race is a 35-kilometre race. Our Category 3 riders now at 27.3 kilometres. Our Category 1 at 26.9. Category 2, 27.3. Category 4, who are our leaders on the road at the moment, are over the 30-kilometre mark. They are at 30.2k. So 4.8 kilometres left for our leaders on the road at the moment, and we've got a group in that race, and we've got some great riders in that group at the moment. So Hoelet there, Ospina, Dallasay, Lytton is there. I'm looking, trying to it's small writing at the moment, but we are.
Look at this. I'm just going to dive in here over the top of Emma, because look at the groups coming together here. We're onto this bridge, really key section here. This for me is going to be very telling, because they are coming up on the Category 3 leaders, Category 2 leaders coming up on Category 3. Now, they've done this on the FRB section. They're going to do it into the dip. These two groups should come together, should work together, because it's going to be to their advantage. Remember, the prizes are not going to be dependent on it. It's per category, the prizes, no overall prize. So if these two groups work together now, they are going to be able to put a shift in. The gap to Coking at the moment showing 35 seconds.
Well, and that is what I think is going to be Mary Joyce Coking's downfall at the moment, because if this Category 2 group pick up the Category 3 group, and the Category 3 pack stay with the Category 2 group until we get to that Category 4 climb, they are going to be working and pulling the Category 3 riders back to the lone leader who is up the road at the moment.
Indeed, now we can see Koki on the right-hand side of the screen. Let's keep an eye on this. In front are the riders in Category 4 who had that head start. Their best part of 2 minutes, I think, down the road. But Koki does not have that luxury on the riders behind. They are coming, and they are coming at pace. Are they going to work together? You can see Category 3 are fighting, but they can't stay with the pace of the Category 2 leaders. And as Emma said, if they can stay with them, and it is the word if, because on these climbing sections, the extra power, that little bit of difference between Category 2 to 3 is telling, but they may get on here, and if they do, Category 3 can just push over the top here and get on with Category 2. They are going to be able to take advantage because we're going to have this flat section and this big run down, but Category 3 have to push.
Well,
really telling.
There's a kick coming from Jose Gallego in that Category 3 race.
And if you look back, look where Category 1 are as well here. They're only 400 meters behind. They are coming up onto that same plateau section. It's not going to be long before they come behind them there, Emma.
Yeah, well, it may well all start to come together, but that kick there from Jose Gallego has brought the Category 3 riders back in with the Category 2 leading pack. It had looked at one point that it was going to be two separate groups on the road, but that kick there bringing them back together.
And it's only a matter of a few seconds between them now. This is Category 1 leaders. They're about to hit the left-hand turn that contains the banner for the segment that we just saw Categories 3 and 4 go through. Sorry, Categories 2 and 3 go through. They're going to take this left-hand bend here. This group is together, and I'll tell you something, I think the pressure's come off this group a little bit. They're using this as a regroup opportunity, and at the moment, they are not closing that gap down enough to come back. I think they're going to hit the Category 2 and 3 riders on the climb, but this is going to be close.
Well, this is still a large group of Category 1 racers, and whilst they might be interested in catching the riders up the road and being the first group on the road in this race today, they are more interested in who from this group is going to win the Category 1 race, and there are some really strong contenders in here, and it's still a very large pack.
Now, segment 7, 24 to 29 kilometres. Fastest rider, Morgan Olsen, up there. Fastest time, 12:14.7. Kicking out 300 plus watts. You can see though that group behind is very, very close. Now they're stretched across about 3.5 seconds for the top 12 riders, but there are not huge gaps here. This is the difference between effectively being at the back to the front or front to back of the group, and this is going to be very interesting when we come on to that climb. Not a lot separating those riders in Category 1, and they have picked up some of our Category 2 riders here as well. I think that's going to be Fioroni they've picked up on the way through, just taking a look as they come in through. They take the right hand turn here, so they've just gone down across the bridge. They've done that steep downhill. Now, well, it's pretty much all uphill to the finish from here. Remember, as we come through here, we have about another 800 meters before we go uphill. It's going to be very key who is going to be in position.
Well, there's 13 riders in this leading pack in this Category 1 race. 13 riders and 4.8 kilometers to go.
Let's see who can take the win here today. It is a qualifier number 2 here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. These are your leaders in Category 1. They are chasing down the categories set off in front. The riders the furthest in front were our Category 4, but that gap is coming down. Category 4 leaders are together. Tanya Holweiler, we've got Ospina in there, Carolina Zait as well. This really is a big push here.
Yeah, it's 2 kilometers separating these two groups on the road. So Category 4 is the category that started first today. They had a 15-minute head start on our Category 1 race field, who are on the left-hand side of your screen. And currently, after an hour and 12 minutes of racing for Category 4, there is 2 kilometers separating them from the Category 1 pack racing hard behind.
And you just see a big flyer being taken by one of the riders on the way through, but will Category 1 emulate that? We're about to hit the start of the climb. We turn left here. We are now on to the climb proper. It will start to ascend any second. You can just see it starting to ramp up in front. Over the line we go. Now the gradient's coming up, and this is where the riders will feel it, 2.6%. So now it's starting to bite in. The riders will have changed. They'll have felt that in their feet through the pedals. They'll feel it in the amount of effort they need to put in. Hitting 4%, dropping down to just over 3 at the moment. And this is where we're going to see who's got something left. Has anybody got extra bit of recovery in? Who's got the timing right with the fueling? Who's got the gels right? Who's got the food right? Who's got the drink right? Who is going to go in? Remember, if you fuel up right, you're going to get that extra kick, that extra bit of energy. But you've got to do it right. Remember, these riders are approaching the hour marker at the moment. Now, Gerardo Arias on the front here, lifting the pace. We're seeing 3.5, 4 watts per kilo. This is the lull before the storm, surely, Emma.
Yeah, and it's an interesting lull at the moment because no one really wants to take this on at the moment. They all seem quite content to remain as a large group, and they are leaving this now, and they're leaving this quite late because 13 riders in this leading pack in this Category 1 race. It's a real risk at the moment.
It is indeed, and I wouldn't want to take that number in. I think there is enough time and enough changes of terrain, though, to make a difference. And one of the places I would do this, look at the profile, there is a little bit of a rest and kick coming up, and where it flattens and kicks again, if you motor there, it is a section where we have seen people push before. It is a relatively level section, and if you push there, you can put a lot of distance in. Break out of that draft pocket, get out and clear, and put it in there running in. If you're dropped, though, it's also an ideal time to chase on, so it is critical on this climb. That section, Category 2, leaders not all that far off there. Neither are Category 1. Category 4, of course, the furthest up the road at the moment. 35k in total to cover today. Big height gain today, but all at the back of the field. We've climbed our major climb, that is the Category 2 climb. 322 of our 537 meters in total has been ascended on that Category 2 climb that came between 22 and 27.5 kilometers. We're now at 32 plus K for all of our groups, which means all of our riders into the last 3,000 meters.
Yeah, they are indeed. So they are all now starting to come together as we are watching this unfold on the final Category 4 climb of the day. This is qualifier race number 2 for June on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and it is all now about to light up.
It is indeed now. Who's traversed the sections clearly? Who got themselves across the FRB section? Who has got themselves into position with something left in their legs? Our Category 3 leader is the only solo rider on your screen, and that is Mary Joyce Coking. Coking is on this flatter section that I was flagging up earlier at 0%. You can see behind. Everybody else is fighting on the climb. They are all on different gradient now. Category 2 just coming across that climbing section, and they are just ticking along. They're only a couple of 100 meters actually behind her. Meanwhile, look at Category 4, 34.5k covered. They're nearly into the last 500 meters or so. At the moment, the rider who has been setting the pace up this climb, Tanya Howeiler, again sat on the front of this group, have just cleared this group, and it looks like Ospina is on the way. So Category 4 not far off that finish. And at the moment, Howeiler with the gap. She's actually up in front of Paul Garin, and looks like she's got a gap in here. So we're going to take a little bit of a check. I'm just going to look at those time gaps on here. So it's going to be Ospina who's leading. Now you're going to ignore Howeiler on these screens. It is Ospina who is leading. So block out the right-hand side of your screen. This is the run for the finish here. We are at 200 meters to go. This is going to be a big kick here. So there we go. It is a spinner leading. It's Bulgarian in two. Bulgarian responding with a big kick here. This is about that push. These two starting to come clear. The finish is so tricky. This is our first look at it today here on qualifier number 2. It's Bulgarian and the gradient goes up. It's going into the red zone as their legs start to explode, but Bulgarian has got it. She's got the power. Can they answer her? Speeder's trying to come. She's not going to get it. Bulgarian takes the win here in qualifier number 2 in category 4. Behind it's going to be a Spina in 2. I'll say in 3. I think it's going to be Catania in 4. Oh, so close on the line. That might have been reversed. Lytton with an absolutely explosive kick into the finish. Followed in by Dalisay, and then it's going to be Vink. Vink with a little bit of distance. What a finish there. And that is such a tricky finish.
It is indeed, and it is not over. You really must remember it is not over till you have crossed the line, because Brittany Lytton proving there that a final seconds kick can indeed change the places on this course. Now it's interesting, isn't it, because that kicked just shy of 6% as we went around that corner into the finish. It's a nasty little kicker, and it is absolutely instrumental in who goes over the line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because these are packs coming in.
They are indeed, and you can be 0 to 0. You could be in the money or down on your knees with a bowl in front of you wanting the cast-offs, because you know what? It's all about getting over the line in the top 5 now. These riders are together. Now, here we go. We have more than one Bulgarian. We've seen one in. This is number 2. And I tell you what, they're looking to make it 2 out of 2 here, because you can see Louisa now on the way up here and really is pushing on. So, will they make it 2 out of 2 in those categories? Meanwhile, right-hand side of the street, Ella Vink going to come in through over the line. Vink is going to come through. I think it's going to be 7th place for Vink as she goes over the line in category number 4. Bulgarian, Ospina, Alzate, Lytton, Catania, Dalisay, and Vink, the top 7 in category 4. Next group of riders we're going to see is going to be our category 2. Now, Louisa Bulgarian, not to be confused with Fernanda, currently on the front. Behind you can see that we have got the push coming, and they are trying to answer this. We've seen the numbers coming up, but it's not consistent enough at the moment, but they've still got her in their sights. Sweeping left, tight right. The gantry is actually almost directly in front of our riders right now, the other side of this big section of climb.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are watching the latter stages of these races now. It is all unfolding on our screen together. We are going to see these finishes now thick and fast, because we're seeing the pack on that category 2 race sweep over the top with 300 meters to go. Hermansen comes in to the front of that pack now. Molina is there, so is Embring, and the colours are lighting up. So Bulgarian kicks again at 11 watts per kilo. Molina is at 5. Embring is there, and Hermansen and Agudalu. As these riders go around this corner, they are going to very shortly see that finishing banner, and they are all fighting for this win today.
So this is about taking that win. This is the kicker. This is the run for the line. Massive watts coming out here. The fight is on behind now. It is going to be Bulgaria who goes over the top there, but look at this. This is the running category 1. This is a sprint for the line. Who's going to take it? Big kick coming in. I think it could well be that Geraldo Arias has taken that, but it was so tight at the top. Who is going to take it? We're just waiting for our screens to update. It's Confado's got it. Well, she makes up for last time. She went 1 to 10 last time. This time, no mistakes for Karut Confado. Then Anna Chaveri, followed by Gerardo Arias, Valdez, Marin. They are your top 5. What a finish there. Do you know what? I'm going to have to go watch that back again, because it was so tight coming in to the finish. We see some amazing action here. Don't forget, all of our results at the moment are live. They will go to unofficial and then verified when they've been checked out. Emma, where can we find you on social media if the riders want to tell you their story of the race?
Well, you can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram, and please do get in touch.
You can get hold of me. It's at Matt Fixer-Payne across social media, on Strava, Facebook, you name it. And don't forget, we've got the men's race coming up. Please do tune in for that. Promises to be an absolute cracker. spot as we are heading out around the outer loop. We're going walkabout around Australia with the men's race, so please do catch us there. Got to say a big thank you to all the team behind the scenes. Make sure you stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.